so if you could only do one weightlifting exercise, one, what would it be? What's the most important weightlifting exercise for a martial artist? For somebody who's interested in self-defense, for somebody who's interested in martial arts performance. Now, is it something like the ubiquitous bench press, right? The move that every teenager and every guy in his early 20s wants to work on to get a massive chest, the bench press. No. Pushing things away from your body is important. Having this kind of motion is important, but it's not the most important motion. As you know, if you're a martial artist, you don't punch with the strength of your pectoral. You punch with the strength of your body. Is it something like a pull-up? No, pull-ups are really important for martial artists, especially those who are interested in grappling, because you might be pulling your opponent forward in a tie clinch. You might be pulling your opponent forward in a clinch. You might be holding them so they can't get away. You might be trying not to let them extend your arm. Pull-ups are certainly important. Pulling motions, rowing motions, that's all important. But again, the strength of your whole entire body is more important than the strength of your lats and your biceps. So, to get to what the most important lift is, the most important exercise, I'll go back to what a judo coach of mine told me when I asked him about improving my bench press because I wanted to get a bigger bench press. I've never been happy with my bench press. And he said, if you want to improve your bench press, work on your squat. If you want to improve your bench press, work on your squat. So what does that mean? So I'll show you the squat and some variations of the squat in a second. But the point is, the squat taxes so many different body parts. It taxes the bigger body parts like the leg, like the back, like the quads, like the glutes, like the hamstrings, like the spinal erectors. It's whole body, which means that there's a bigger adrenal and a bigger hormonal response. You get more testosterone secreted when you do squats. You get more growth hormones secreted when you do squats. There's a bigger anabolic thing going on. Working squats for your whole body than working bench press for your whole body. Sure, if you're crippled in a hospital bed, you're paralyzed from the waist down, and all you can do is bench press, great. Because with a bench press, you'll have less overall muscle wastage than you would if you did nothing at all. But the squat really is the king. Personally, I've noticed that the squat, if I go heavy, if I start doing it heavy and with regularity, first of all, my appetite increases. That's a sign of that hormonal stimulation. The amount of sleep I need increases. And my whole body becomes stronger and tighter. And I feel like, I'm overall able to generate more force, not just in the legs. So, hands down the squat, with a second, perhaps, of the deadlift. The movement of the deadlift here is pretty similar to the movement of the squat here. A deadlift is a little bit more back involvement, a little bit less leg involvement. So I think for a whole body hormonal response, the squat is superior. But the deadlift, if you can't squat for whatever reason, you can only deadlift, probably a pretty good second. And you're going to get, just the fact that you're lifting a lot of weight, you're going to get a big response. It's also a very combative motion. So, when you come around to the side, I'll move this bench out of the way here. People get confused about the different kinds of squat, which are more combatively applicable, which are more like CrossFit type movements or for specific sports. So we'll start just with a regular straight bar. I'm going to take the plates off the side so you can see what's going on. The big difference with a squat is where is the weight? Is the weight in front of you? Is the weight here? Essentially in front of you, maybe resting on your deltoids. If I squat here and I go down and I come up, then that's a very quad dominant exercise, right? The weight, the main muscles that are moving that weight are the quads in front. There are some sports, like I've got a friend of mine who does a lot of combat challenge, which involves running up stairs. That's a very quad dominant activity. So he does a lot of front squats. If you're doing Olympic lifting and you're practicing coming up out of your snatch position, you have to front squat because these are the muscles that allow you to get up deep out of that hole. But for the most part, in the martial arts, we're not lifting up out of this hole here. Most of the time, we're in something like this, right? If I'm wrestling, I might be here, yeah, fighting in a cage. If I'm boxing, I might be here. My legs are going to be bent somewhere in this range here, especially if we're doing a mixed martial arts type of thing, or a judo or a wrestling or something that involves sprawling, right? We're going to be moving a lot in this range. So you don't need to go all the way down. So now we move the bar onto the back. This is a high bar squat. You see how high that bar sits up on my traps? Initially, when you start this, you're probably going to need some kind of padding on the back. Then as you become more cognizant about resting it on the top of your shoulder blades and you build up a bit more beef on the back there, you won't need padding anymore. So when I squat here, say I go down to my thighs being roughly parallel to the ground. Do you see how my knees move forward here? Watch my knees. My knees are coming forward. Trying to keep them over the toes. This isn't a tutorial on the squat. So that high bar squat, or I sometimes call it a bodybuilder squat, is still very good. It's one of the more combatively applicable types of squat. Because sometimes you're going to be coming down here, your knee comes forward. Sometimes you're going to be coming back a little bit, and your knee is going to remain behind your ankle. So doing a high bar squat with your knees coming forward, to roughly either a 90-degree bend or thighs parallel to the ground, that's pretty combative. The third type, and this is the one that allows you to put on the most weight, and I'll put a link in the description to an article on my site that talks about the changes I made when I started doing it. It's more of a powerlifter squat or a low bar squat. So here, I'm resting it not up here, but down there. Kind of on the tops of the muscles that I get by flaring out my elbows here. Doesn't look like a big difference here to here, but it's a very different squat. I'm also putting my legs much wider, and it's like I'm sitting down on the toilet. I'm sitting backwards. It's hard to do without weight, but you see my knees aren't coming as far forward. In fact, almost as if I'm sitting down like this. Yes, I'm bending more forward. That is not incorrect form here. If I'm doing that low bar squat or more of a powerlifting squat, I'm spreading the weight out. So it's not just my quads, it's also my glutes and my hamstrings in the back. It's also my spinal erectors. So the more muscles I spread out the movement out over, the more weight I can use, the bigger the response hormonally. Interestingly, I found when I did a lot of low bar squatting, my high bar squat improved, but not the other way around. The low bar squat, just because you get used to being under an extra 50 pounds, under an extra 90 pounds, under an extra 100 pounds, you go back to other forms of squatting and you're like, it's probably mostly psychological, but it's probably also neurological. Yeah, this isn't nearly as heavy, therefore I can do it. So there's a big hormonal, psychological, and neurological effect of doing this movement heavy. I do like going heavy here if your knees can handle it. Like I said, if your knees can't handle it, go to deadlifting, perhaps the hex bar deadlifting. That's pretty body friendly. So I'm just going to load up the bar here a little bit and do a couple of squats of those three types. The front squat, the high bar squat, and the back squat. So my primary focus actually isn't weightlifting, it's not the squat, it's martial arts. But when it comes to lifts that complement your martial art training, I think it's really, really hard to beat some form of the squat. Put something heavy on your back, bend your knees, go down, and bring it back up again. And I think your martial arts will thank you.